There are so many things I admired about Mark. One, he was a great servant leader. He was just a great boss.
Well, he was a quiet man. He was somebody who led by example. He was not someone that pounded the table. He was one that could see the future and very quietly and very convincingly help lead people forward to what his vision could be.
I think the work that Mark did and the leadership that he provided at SDN changed the trajectory for technology and communications here in South Dakota, which is certainly beneficial for our business and for so many others.
Mark's vision for SDN was really new and leading edge. The fiber optic line was something new. We hadn't heard the term before, and Mark knew that data transfer and the ability to grow that company to wire all of eastern South Dakota and now into other states would be something that would set SDN apart from the other companies. You have to remember, they were just a collection of old telephone companies, and so he really saw the evolution of SDN into the telecommunications, really the regional giant that it is today.
It was because of that connectivity that we have cutting edge telemedicine in South Dakota. It was because of that that we have cutting edge cybersecurity, a cybersecurity presence in South Dakota. The work and much of what goes on at Dakota State University is because of the connectivity that Mark had the vision to develop long before people knew what was going to happen in that area and in that field.
Well, certainly it had a big impact on Sioux Falls and the support that SDN gives the community of Sioux Falls, but to me, Mark's impact is really much bigger than that. His impact is not just the Sioux Falls community, his impact is the state of South Dakota.
I'd say the other big deal in my time in working with him, his vision for having a data center. Today it exists out northwest of Sioux Falls. But it really started because SDN needed a second location in case disaster struck our main location. SDN serves hospitals, banking, emergency services, healthcare, and so if something happened to that building, we needed a second location to reassemble the network. But Mark smartly thought, there have to be other businesses that want to store data in this very secure bunker-like building. And he was right, as he usually was, because it filled almost immediately. And then one of his last acts before leaving was working with the board, pushing to double the size of it. And that is in the process right now.
He had vision that I think set him apart from so many different people. He believed in rural connectivity. He believed that SDN and working together with all the owners of SDN and the companies that make up the South Dakota network, that they could fundamentally change the lives of South Dakotans in the future. And there's no question that has happened.
Well, Mark really lived it. His business grew. He grew our Sioux Falls community. He understood the importance of how our entire region could expand and could grow. And he was one of those people that led by example. He made certain that his business was in a leadership role. He personally took a leadership role, and it was tough not to go along with him.
Mark is just a big believer that you should give back. Wherever you're volunteering, that you should give back. And so from economic development, I'd say the things that have his fingerprints all over them. One, our Forward Sioux Falls campaigns. He was involved in multiple ones, and he loved that.
Well, Mark was a great partner in Forward Sioux Falls. We had the opportunity to chair that together, and you couldn't have a better co-chair than Mark Shlanta. He was one that I got up every day thinking about the future of Sioux Falls. We went out and made a lot of calls, twisted a lot of arms, and were able to really develop a campaign that was the largest that Sioux Falls had ever had.
Mark served as the chair of the Joint Venture Management Committee for a 5-year period and oversaw that program, again, implementation. And one of the major projects or initiatives that came out of that particular version of Forward Sioux Falls was Foundation Park. It was the state's first mega site development of its kind, 820 acres in total. And Mark provided great vision and leadership and support throughout that entire project.
Foundation Park. He helped with that vision. He was a true believer in it. But look at how that park is filling up. Mark knew we had to have property available for big ideas to happen. And he also recognized that sometimes it'd take a while for those ideas to hatch and come to fruition. But he pushed along with others, and he would always give credit to the others that were involved. He pushed to make that happen.
So when you talk about economic development, you talk about the development of our parks, of our research park, of our industrial parks, of places where development is occurring, all of that has to be planned out in advance. And that's the type of, I always say, visionary leadership that Mark had. But he coupled it. He was smart. He was an engineer. He got all the stuff that most of us don't understand. But then he also had the people skills to make the connections, to develop relationships and connect people together so that they could all be moving forward.
I think that's all he ever wanted to do was be of service to others, and he certainly lived that life personally and professionally. He was really important to him, that his boys all were scouts, and he was very involved in scouting and was an Eagle Scout. And when I found that out, that just explained to me a lot about who I thought Mark was and what he was, because he definitely was an Eagle Scout throughout his entire life.
I think he was wired that way because at the heart of it, he's an Eagle Scout. He was so proud of being an Eagle Scout, and that all 4 of his sons were Eagle Scouts, and that he was involved in getting at least 50 young men to their Eagle Scout awards. And at the core of him, he remained a passionate Eagle Scout and believed that whatever you're volunteering in, you give your time, your talent, and your treasure. And I can't think of where he didn't do all 3 in the many organizations in which he was involved.
And then the list goes on and on. There's no one I know who is more engaged in things such as the Boy Scouts and things that his sons were engaged in as Mark. And he and Peggy did a tremendous job of raising 4 fabulous young men, and he was involved in their lives in every facet, in any activity that they were passionate about. Mark found a way to be passionate about it as well. So he, professionally and personally, he set the standard for how you're supposed to be engaged in your community without ever losing sight of how you should be engaged with your family.
Well, if Mark was here today, I would say, Mark, congratulations. Well deserved, well done. No one in Sioux Falls exemplifies the spirit of our community like you do.